Thank you very much, Chris and Alan, for just chatting with me about season 3 here of Resident Alien. Very excited to finally have it back after 2 years of no Resident Alien.
Oh, it feels like a long time.
Very, very
Is it really that long?
A year and a half, I think, right? Since August through October was the second half of season 2. So
oh yeah, about
it
that.
seems like 2
yeah.
years. Yeah.
I like to round up sometimes.
I don't blame you. No, Sarah does the same thing.
Oh no. I mean, you've never seen me and Sarah in the same room. So.
You know, yeah, right here.
Right.
So.
That's great. Well, I'm just gonna dive right in.
Please.
So Alan, after Harry reveals his true identity to save Asta and like sends Bridget away for her own little tiny baby safety, how do you think how can we expect these decisions to kind of like shape who we see Harry being, you know, in the 3rd season?
Well, he's sent away his son, Bridget, named because he bridges the worlds, the human and the alien. So that's how he came up with that. Not quite perfect name for his son. Missing it again, like he always does. I don't think he really cares that he let Bridget go. He's not sentimental in that way, especially child rearing, you know, on his planet was very different.
Right.
And because he's got something to focus on. So right at the end of last season, he doesn't take the spaceship that the Greys offered him to go away, and he decides to fight. And he's fighting for Earth. He doesn't want the Greys to take over Earth. He doesn't know what they're doing, but he doesn't like them, and he's decided that he's gonna fight for the humans and for his human self, the half of him or the part of him that's becoming more and more human. But it's an adversary. It's the gray aliens. It's another alien race that he does not like. He has a history with. He thinks they're creepy, weird, and they're gross. And he's a little intimidated by them. They can stop time, and he doesn't. He's not quite sure how to do that. So it's a good adversary, and it's going to be a tough fight to figure out. He's got to figure out what they're even planning to start with. So he's got a lot to do this season.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. We can't wait to see how all of that unfolds. It's going to be hilarious, great, and hopefully not sad. Hopefully. And Chris, so season 2 ended with exploring a bunch of different themes in development. We got some parental themes. We have, you know, loss and all, and grief and all of that. What kind of themes can we kind of expect to explore in this upcoming season 3?
That's a great question. There's a few themes that come out in season 3. One of the big ones is that the factors that affect us as a child shape us and force us to sort of become the adults we are, for good or bad. And if they are things we need to overcome, then it's the type of thing we need to face head on. And in this season, all the characters in one way or another are really looking inward and asking the question, who am I? You know, they're realizing they're going through this emotional changes since the first season, you know, going through the series, and they're exploring a little bit more of their place, you know, in this world. Like Asta, for instance, things are different for her now. You know, Darcy knows what's going on. She's got a little more time on her hands. I mean, she had gone through this horrible trauma during the pilot with Jimmy, and at the same time, Harry comes in. So she never really had time to sort of look at her life, because she does what we all do, which is find something else to focus on so we don't have to look inward. But now with Darcy knowing, and also Dan knows, and, you know, there's other people helping out, she has a little bit more time to look at her life and explore like where she's at as a person. And a lot of the characters do that. You know, Ben is realizing, as, you know, we're realizing as an audience, that Ben, as an adult who's been fearful his whole life, it stems from something that happened to him as a child. And he's going to have to face that. A lot of the characters go through similar things. And it really brings up the question, you know, as an adult, do we have the power to change ourselves? If what we want to change are habits or behaviors that have been happening since we were children, and whether they're alien abductions that we don't really remember, or childhood trauma that we also may not remember, like from parents or whatever, that we can overcome them, but we have to face them first. So all the characters have their work cut out for them, trying to be strong enough to be able to face their greatest fears.
Yeah, no, and the way you guys do all of that is very relatable. Of course, there are no aliens in my life, but
Wow.
That you
You don't
know
know
of.
that.
that I know of.
Okay, Camila.
That is really creepy. But just on a like human level, like it's just very relatable and
Yeah.
just resonates with a lot of us. And that's why the show is just so like we just can't get enough of it. But and with the show itself is great because you guys mix, humor with these heavy themes and everything. And what is the magic behind that from like an actor's point and from the showrunner's point of view?
For the actor's point of view, it's fish out of water, stuff. He's also, for as smart as he is, he's an innocent in a lot. He doesn't. This season he falls in love, and he's falling in love for the first time. He's like a teenager falling in love, and so we can watch him. He doesn't even know he's writing poetry until he's writing poetry, and because he doesn't know any better, he can be really wrong and be inappropriate, and the humor comes from that. And he's very enthusiastic. He's living right on that edge. He loves large, and he hurts large. Now that he has feelings, they're happening in a big way. And in comedy, high stakes are a really good place to find humor, and everything's a high stake for him. This is first time love. He's letting his heart. He's gonna take a chance on love, like real love, romantic love, with the most beautiful woman in the galaxy, played by Edie Patterson, brilliantly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think comedy works best when the audience has a connection to the character, because then it's relatable. You see yourself in the character, and you understand, why they are the way they are. And it's a challenge sometimes because, in order to stay within the tone of a show that can really get out these emotions, you can't be too broad in your humor. Because if you're too broad in the comedy stuff, it makes the whole thing feel like a cartoon, and then suddenly the stakes sort of fall out. Well, we have the advantage on our show of having a character like Harry, played brilliantly by Alan, and we can push the envelope of that. And we can do it even more this year because we now have a couple characters in the Blue Avian, played by Edie Patterson, and they can push the comedy a little further because it still is real within the world that they inhabit. So it's always been the greatest thing where you can have Harry, drinking milk directly from a cow's udder, and it's hysterical, but it still feels real because if we had one of the other characters doing the same thing, it would just change the tone of the show, and then it wouldn't be as heartfelt throughout. But we're allowed to do things with Harry where we can be really, really funny and sometimes big funny with that character, but still have it feel real and have the real moments, whether they're sad or whether they're scary, still play accurately. And we have to be careful though with the other characters that their comedy all comes from character and all feels earned. So it's a challenge, but if you can balance both of them, I think you get a great result.
Well, you guys do it excellently. It's great. It's refreshing. But thank you guys so much for chatting with me on season 3. And really quick, Alan, huge fan of yours. Thank you so much for everything. You're great.
Thank you so much.
I agree.